Julian!
Hello everyone, my name is Julian Javate. I'm a third-year transfer. Oh my god. I'm a third-year transfer. I'm using he and pronouns, and I'm standing here today to present my secretary platform. During my first start of Fusion, it started in community college. And in community college, I would be talking to my girlfriend, Lauren, who would introduce me to one of my closest friends now, Benson. Benson and I would do a lot of talks during my community college days, but he always ended off with one thing. He said, Julian, if you ever end up transferring to Irvine, please come out to Fusion. And that is where I am today. As a transfer, coming into a new university is a very unique experience. You don't really fit in with the third years, but you don't really fit in with the first years. And I felt like I was struggling to fit in no matter where. But Fusion was different. With Fusion, I realized you didn't have to fit in at all because you already belong in the space. My involvement with Fusion started off as a hog class intern. And as a hog class intern, it was the first intern class of the year. And something I noticed during my internship was the lack of structure that the class had at the very start. And that was something that naturally pulled me in because I wanted to be able to provide for my interns. And so what I did was I made things like intern matches where I fostered communication amongst ourselves. I would hold intern meetings, and I would also hold intern reminders for our tasks on board, right? And I thought of it as nothing much, to be honest. I thought it was just my obligation as an intern. But during winter retreat, a lot of my fellow interns wrote to me and thanked me for being a big brother to the intern class. And they told me, Julian, I really hope that you run for board next year. And that is where I am today as well. But something that I want to take in was the endless opportunities that Fusion Board had to offer. And one of those opportunities was something that I read. In the Fusion Constitution, Section 5, it states that the secretary is the glue of the club. And I really felt that because within the secretary role, you realize that as a general member, it's what gives you a voice. As board, it's what makes everything flow. And that's something that immediately drew me in. And so I realized that I was the best candidate for it because as I showed great leadership in my class intern, I also shown great organization when I worked as a social media manager. And I also, and I also understood the role of PDF because of my mentor, Caitlin. As secretary, you support general members by giving them a voice. Some things I would love to introduce for that is a professional spotlight, where it allows general members to be spotlighted along with the professional achievements, and there would be a Q&A section followed up for any general members that would love to ask any questions about how they got to the position today. Another thing I would love to add is an optional video interview instead of our typical general member spotlight. And I want general members to start having a say whenever it comes to line spotlights. I want to be able to have general members talk about or input their own lines for suggestion when it comes to line spotlight. I believe that these changes will give our general members a voice and create a foundation for appreciation and visibility. Secretary, given that it's the glue, helps board members and meetings run smoothly. And some things I would love to implement is the Fusion Spotlight Archive, which keeps a track of a list of all lines and members that have been spotlighted in the past to help future secretaries. Another thing I would love to start doing is to start summarizing board meetings to make sure that the culture of board meetings are updated throughout the week and promises that we make to ourselves, we can remind ourselves with a much more digestible means than scrolling through 10 pages of board meetings. And I would also love to rework board artifacts, which are supposed to help future board members see how the last year's position ran, and instead make it a changelog to new things that you bring to the table. I want board members to feel fully supported and aligned. By keeping us organized and accountable to the promises that we make each week, we can spend less time stressing over logistics and more time doing what we do best, creating a welcoming home for our general members. And while I've used my loud voice to command the room by yelling bacon wrapped hot dog, I now want to use that exact same energy to represent your message to the rest of Fusion. Thank you.